The heat hung heavy over the sleepy beach town, the kind of summer warmth that made the ocean breeze feel like a whispered promise. Harper stood barefoot on the cracked wooden dock, toes curling over the edge as she stared out at the shimmering waves. It was the kind of afternoon that made time slow, like everything else could wait. Except it couldn't, not this summer. Not this one. She pulled her jacket tighter around her shoulders, though it did little against the thick humidity. The jacket was old, a hand-me-down from her sister, but it carried the scent of home and memories she wasn't ready to forget. Memories of laughter echoing across this very pier, the way the sun caught in someone's hair, how a glance could change everything. Harper's phone buzzed in her pocket. She ignored it, pretending the messages didn't exist. The past wasn't chasing her down like a tidal wave threatening to crash. A step behind her, the soft shuffle of footsteps stirred the silence. "You always come back here, huh?" The voice was gentle, tentative, but there was an edge, like years of things unsaid were riding on those words. Harper didn't turn around right away. "It's the only place that feels like me," she said quietly. "No matter how far I run." The voice came closer. "I get that." Finally, she let herself turn. Standing there, under the gold-smeared sky, was someone she hadn't expected to see again. Someone who had once been the center of her world and the source of every quiet ache. Sophie. Her hair was still the wild mess Harper remembered, dark curls that caught the sun like a halo. Her eyes held the same fierce light, the kind that could burn or soothe depending on the moment. But now, they were tired, like Sophie had been carrying a weight too heavy for one person. "I didn't know you'd come back this summer," Harper said, the words more brittle than she wanted. Sophie shrugged, stepping closer to the edge of the dock. "Neither did I. But sometimes the past has a way of pulling you back." There was a pause. The sea lapped beneath them, a steady rhythm that felt like the heartbeat of the town itself. The space between them was filled with everything they hadn't said, the promises broken, the letters never sent, the nights spent wondering what might have been. "I heard about you," Harper said finally, biting the inside of her cheek. "About New York." Sophie's jaw tightened. "It's not what you think." Harper let out a shaky laugh. "Isn't it always?" For a moment, they just stood there, two halves of a story neither had fully told. Then Sophie reached out, her fingers brushing against Harper's wrist in the smallest, most tentative touch. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "For everything I left behind." Harper's breath caught, the memories flooding in, late-night talks, stolen kisses, the warmth of Sophie's hand in hers before everything slipped away. "I'm not sure if I'm ready to forgive," Harper admitted, voice trembling. "You don't have to," Sophie said softly. "Not yet. But maybe. Maybe we can start with a chance." The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the water. Harper looked out at the horizon and felt something she hadn't in a long time, hope. Maybe this summer could be different. Maybe it could be their second chance. The sun had slipped behind the horizon, leaving the sky painted in bruises of purple and orange. The dock creaked under their weight as Harper and Sophie slowly began to walk back toward the town, their footsteps uneven in the stillness. Harper's mind raced, the steady beat of the waves echoing the flutter of nerves inside her chest. She hadn't seen Sophie in nearly 2 years since everything fell apart like a house of cards in a storm, and now here she was, standing so close she could feel the warmth radiating from Sophie's skin, the scent of salt and jasmine lingering like a ghost. "Why now?" Harper finally asked, breaking the silence. Sophie glanced at her, eyes shadowed with regret. "I thought I left it all behind, the mistakes, the regrets. But some things don't stay buried. Not when the heart's involved." Harper swallowed hard, the familiar ache tightening in her throat. "You disappeared without a word. No calls, no messages. Just gone." "I was scared," Sophie admitted. Voice barely above a whisper. "Scared of what staying would mean. Scared of what I'd lose if I tried." The honesty hit Harper like a tidal wave, and for the first time in a long time, she saw Sophie not as the girl who left, but as someone broken and human. "I needed you. I waited for you." Sophie reached out, this time letting her fingers rest lightly on Harper's hand. I'm sorry for the pain I caused. But I'm here now. I want to make it right. Harper hesitated, torn between the safety of guarding her heart and the dangerous pull Sophie still held over her. What if it's too late? It's never too late, Sophie said firmly, her gaze steady. If you want it to be. They walked in silence again, the tension slowly unraveling between them. The town's lights flickered on, casting warm glows on the empty streets and shuttered shops. Somewhere in the distance, a guitar played softly, the melody weaving through the night air like a promise. Harper's phone buzzed in her pocket, another message, another reminder of the life waiting for her beyond this moment. But here, in Sophie's presence, it all felt distant and unimportant. They stopped at the edge of a small park, the grass still damp from an afternoon shower. Sophie turned to face Harper fully, her hands trembling slightly as she reached for Harper's face, tracing the line of her jaw with a tender touch. Remember how we used to talk about forever? Sophie whispered, eyes glistening in the moonlight. Harper nodded, the memory flooding back, the late nights lying under stars, weaving dreams and promises that felt unbreakable. I want that, Sophie said, voice breaking. Not the perfect story, but the real one. The messy, hard, beautiful one. Harper's heart ached with the weight of possibility, the chance to rewrite their story, to heal wounds that still throbbed beneath the surface. She leaned into Sophie's touch, her breath mingling with Sophie's as the world seemed to hold its breath. Then let's start, Harper said softly. Their lips met in a tentative kiss, slow and searching, filled with the longing of two souls who had wandered too far only to find their way back. It wasn't a fairy tale, and it wasn't easy. There would be doubts and fears, nights filled with silence and tears. But in that moment, beneath the vast sky, they chose to try. Together. The morning sun spilled golden light through the linen curtains, casting warm patterns across the wooden floor. Harper woke first, tangled in a mess of sheets and memories, the scent of salt and Sophie still lingering in the air like a promise. She watched Sophie sleep, chest rising and falling softly, hair fanned across the pillow in a careless halo. It was a peace Harper hadn't known she craved until now, a quiet certainty beneath the tumult. But as the light grew, so did the weight of reality. The past wasn't something you could leave behind like a forgotten coat. It clung like the summer humidity, pressing in with the demands of what was and what could be. Harper slid out of bed quietly, careful not to wake Sophie, and stepped out onto the small balcony. The town below was just beginning to stir, shopkeepers unlocking doors, the smell of fresh bread drifting from the bakery, children chasing after stray cats with laughter ringing in the air. She pulled her phone from her pocket. Scrolling through a string of missed calls and messages, friends checking in, family asking about her plans, and then there was Becca's name flashing bright and insistent. Becca, the friend who had stayed when Sophie left, the steady anchor Harper had clung to during the storm. Harper's fingers hovered over the call button, heart caught between wanting to reach out and needing to keep this fragile new beginning sacred. Behind her, the door creaked open softly. Sophie appeared, hair tousled, eyes sleepy but bright with a shy smile. Morning, she murmured. Harper turned, the tension loosening as Sophie crossed the room to join her on the balcony. Morning, she replied. For a moment, they stood in comfortable silence, watching as the sun climbed higher, burning away the shadows of the night. I know this won't be easy, Sophie said finally, her voice steady but vulnerable. There are things I need to make right, people I need to face. Harper nodded, squeezing Sophie's hand. We'll face it together. Sophie's smile faltered, eyes darkening with the ghosts of the past. There's someone, from before. Someone I hurt. Harper's breath caught. The unspoken question hung between them, was the past truly behind them, or was it waiting to unravel everything? I want to tell you, to be honest. But I'm scared you'll walk away. Harper pulled Sophie close, resting her forehead against hers. Whatever it is, we'll get through it. But you have to trust me. Sophie closed her eyes, taking a steadying breath. I do. I want to. The day stretched ahead like an uncharted map, full of possibilities and pitfalls. but for the first time, Harper believed they could navigate it, not as two broken hearts drifting apart, but as two people daring to heal together. The hours slipped by in a lazy rhythm, a breakfast of shared coffee and burnt toast, quiet moments spent tangled in the hammock beneath the old oak tree, and long walks along the shoreline where the sea whispered secrets only they seemed to understand. Harper found herself laughing again, the sound unfamiliar but welcomed like an old friend returning. Yet beneath the warmth of their reunion, a restless undercurrent pulsed, the past tightening its grip with every step forward. Later that afternoon, Sophie excused herself, phone pressed tightly to her ear as she paced beneath the swaying palms. Harper watched from the porch, heart fluttering with unease as she caught fragments of whispered words and strained breaths. Sophie's shoulders sagged when the call ended, her smile fragile as she returned. "I had to answer," she said quietly. "It was him." Harper's stomach twisted. "Jason?" Sophie nodded,